The resignation letter sat on Patricia Holloway's desk between us. 2 sentences, my signature, and 7 years of my life reduced to 12-point Times New Roman. "You can't be serious," she said. I was dead serious, but let me back up. You need to understand how I got here. My name is Warren Hudson, Walt to most people. I'm 47 years old, and 3 hours ago I watched a 25-year-old kid get handed the promotion I've been working toward for 7 years. It was supposed to be a routine Tuesday meeting. Safety updates, project timelines, maybe a surprise bonus if we were lucky. But the second Patricia Holloway, CEO of Coastal Petroleum Corporation, cleared her throat and said, "I've got some big news today." My pen started tapping against my clipboard. She stood at the front of the conference room with that fake, humble smile she always used when she was about to screw someone over. The AC hummed overhead, mixing with the smell of burned coffee from the break room. Someone's radio was playing from the control room below. Starting next month, Patricia said, "We're officially naming Stephanie Holloway as the new vice president of operations." The room clapped, people actually clapped. I sat there staring at my pressure readings like I hadn't heard her right. Stephanie, the 25-year-old who still couldn't read a flow chart without calling me, the one who showed up to field inspections in designer heels and complained about the heat. For 7 years, I'd been running Coastal's operations. Pipeline monitoring, environmental compliance, safety protocols, regulatory reporting, all of it. I was the one chasing down EPA clearances while Stephanie was still in business school. 3 months ago, Patricia introduced her as a management trainee who was here to learn the ropes. I clapped then too. Now here we were again. Patricia kept talking, beaming at Stephanie like a proud mother. And I want to especially thank Walt for all his help getting her up to speed. Heat shot through my chest like steam pressure building. My pen stopped tapping and fell into my lap. I looked down at my hands. Calluses from 20 years of field work, a scar across my knuckle from a valve handle in Beaumont. Next to me, Stephanie's hands were smooth, manicured nails tapping against her leather portfolio. She gave this awkward half wave like she knew she didn't deserve it. She was trying to act humble, but that little smirk gave her away. Patricia went on about vision and growth and fresh leadership while I stared at the table. 7 years. 7 years of late nights, canceled weekends, hauling myself to regulatory hearings to get permits approved. 7 years thinking it was all building to something. It wasn't. This was the play all along. I was the technician, the trainer, the guy who did the work, and now that it was done, they expected me to smile and keep clapping. I walked straight out as soon as the meeting ended. Back at my desk, my phone buzzed, text from Allison, my daughter, "Dad, when you coming home?" It's almost 9 p.m. again. I looked at the clock. She was right. I typed back soon. Promise. She sent back a thumbs up. Kid was 20, pre-law at University of Texas, and she'd learned not to expect much, not since her mom died 6 years ago. Rita's cancer took her fast. And 8 months from diagnosis to funeral. Left me and Allison with medical bills I was still paying off, a mortgage, and a life that felt like someone had kicked the foundation out from under it. I threw myself into work after that. Easier than sitting in an empty house remembering what I'd lost. Allison understood, or at least she pretended to. But I knew she noticed the missed dinners, the forgotten birthdays, the weekends I promised we'd do something and then got called to fix another system failure. Work was supposed to be worth it. That was the deal I made with myself. Sacrifice now, stability later. Save enough to cover Allison's law school, retire at 65 with a full 401k, maybe even take a vacation that wasn't just driving to a job site in another state. But now, staring at my computer screen, all I could see was 7 years going up in smoke. I opened Word and typed 3 lines. Effective 2 weeks from today, I resign from my position at Coastal Petroleum Corporation. Warren Hudson. Printed it, signed it, walked it straight to Patricia's office. She was still grinning when I knocked. "Hey, Walt, just in time. I'm resigning." I dropped the letter on her desk. Effective 2 weeks from today. Her smile froze, then dropped. Wait, what? She picked up the letter like she couldn't read English. "You're serious? Already sent it to HR. You'll get the official copy soon." She stood up, palms out like she was calming down a spooked horse. "Okay, let's not make any crazy moves here. I know the promotion caught you off guard, but there's more to come. This isn't the end of your growth here." I just stared at her. Through the window behind her desk, I could see the refinery. Storage tanks sitting in the afternoon sun, steam rising from the cooling towers, the steady hum of pumps running 24/7. You could smell the crude oil even through the closed window. "You've built something here, Walt," she said, starting to sweat. "Your reputation means something, and I know you've got responsibilities. A daughter in college, a house bills. Let's be honest, jumping ship right now. Not smart." There it was, the guilt trip. "I'm aware of my finances," I said, "and I'm not jumping anywhere. I'm walking calmly." Patricia stepped around the desk. Look, how about this? We create a new title for you. Senior Director of Field Operations, same pay, maybe a bump in 6 months. You'd report to Stephanie, sure, but you'd have full oversight of, no, she blinked. Just like that. Just like that, she sat back down slower this time. If you leave like this, I can't promise glowing references. You've built your whole network under my firm. It wouldn't look good. I tilted my head, you threatening me. She held up her hands. I'm trying to protect you from burning a bridge. I'm not burning anything. I'm just leaving. We sat there quiet for a minute. The air conditioning kicked on, rattling the vent above her desk. Finally, she leaned forward. You trained her. She still needs you. I smiled. I'll finish out my 2 weeks. I'll even make sure Stephanie doesn't crash the Beaumont project. But after that, you're on your own. Her jaw went tight. She looked like she wanted to throw something. I walked out and closed the door behind me. Didn't slam it. Didn't look back. Just went straight to my truck and sat there in the parking lot for 10 minutes, hands on the wheel, staring at nothing. Then I drove home. Allison was asleep on the couch, textbook open on her chest. Constitutional law. I covered her with a blanket and went to my room. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept doing the math. Law school costs $55,000 a year. I had maybe 4 months of savings if I stretched it. The mortgage was $2,100 a month. Insurance through Cobra would eat another $750. I couldn't afford to be unemployed, but I also couldn't afford to stay. Around 3 a.m., I finally fell asleep thinking about how the hell I was going to explain this to my daughter. The thing about betrayal is you usually see it coming. You just don't want to believe it. 6 months before that Tuesday meeting, I should have known. That's when Stephanie Holloway first walked through Coastal's doors. Patricia stopped me in the hallway with that casual tone she used when she was about to ask for something. Hey, Walt, heads up. My daughter's starting next week. Fresh out of business school, just wants to see how things run. She'll be shadowing you a bit. I said, sure. Figured it'd be some intern with a clipboard, maybe last 3 weeks before deciding oil and gas wasn't glamorous enough. Instead, in walks Stephanie, designer jeans that probably cost more than my work boots, spotless white blouse, smelling like expensive perfume. She offered me a handshake with those smooth fingers and said, you must be Walt. I've heard you're the operations guru around here. That grin wasn't respectful. It was like she already knew where this was headed. I didn't think much of it then. I'd seen plenty of kids bounce in and out of this industry. Most of them lasted until their first 110-degree day on a platform or their first regulatory inspection where a federal agent told them exactly what they could do with their fresh ideas. But Stephanie kept showing up every site visit, every safety meeting, every call with state officials. I'd walk into a compliance review and there she'd be, chair pulled up next to mine, spinning a pen between her fingers. I trained her without realizing I was building my own replacement, showed her how to read pressure charts, navigate environmental paperwork, handle permits. Once she screwed up a valve inspection log, forgot to verify the seal integrity, could have shut down the whole Galveston terminal. I caught it, fixed it quietly, figured everyone makes mistakes. 2 weeks before the promotion announcement, I should have seen it coming. It was Thursday night, almost 9 p.m. office quiet except for the cleaning crew and the hum of lights. I was at my desk checking safety protocols for a pipeline expansion in East Texas. We'd had a pressure spike incident the week before. A connection Stephanie had signed off on without actually testing it. A field technician noticed the gauge reading was wrong, reported it could have caused a rupture. I'd spent 3 hours that afternoon retraining her on pressure testing requirements, watching her nod along like she understood, but her notes were scattered, incomplete. Can't we just have the field supervisor handle this stuff, she'd asked. You are going to be the supervisor, I'd told her. This is your job. Now sitting at my desk, I heard voices from Patricia's office. Her door was cracked open, not enough to see inside, but enough to hear. Still no word on that VP position. A man's voice. Kelvin Torres, one of Coastal's senior investors, paused, then Patricia's laugh, low and smug. Walt's reliable, but he doesn't have executive presence. I stopped breathing. My pen froze halfway to my coffee cup. Walt's the one who's kept your operations from collapsing, Calvin said. He's good in the field, Patricia replied, but Stephanie's got the MBA. She understands where the industry is going, and she's family, there it was. I stood up slow, careful not to make the chair creak, walked to the window and stared out at the refinery. The flare stack was burning bright against the night sky. Somewhere a pump kicked on. My reflection stared back at me from the glass, and for the first time in 7 years, I looked old, not tired, old. They never considered me, not once. This wasn't about who kept operations running, who handled the regulators and contractors and environmental reports. This was about bloodline. I was the workhorse. Stephanie was the heir. I left the office without turning off my computer, drove home through empty streets, got in at 10:30. Allison was still up studying at the kitchen table. You okay? She asked, looking up from her textbook. Yeah, long day. She studied my face. Kid had her mother's eyes, sharp and smart. You sure? I opened the fridge, stared at leftover pizza I didn't want. How's constitutional law kicking my ass? She closed her book. Dad, seriously, what's wrong? I sat down across from her, wanted to tell her everything that I just realized 7 years meant nothing. That her law school tuition was riding on a job I was about to quit. That I had no idea what came next. Instead, I said, just thinking about some changes at work. Nothing to worry about. She didn't believe me, but she nodded anyway, went back to her textbook. I went to my room and opened my laptop, started searching. Operations management positions, Texas, petroleum firms, Houston Metro. Sent my resume to 3 companies before midnight. One of them was Chevron. Monday morning came too fast. I walked into Coastal like always, coffee in one hand, badge on my hip. Stephanie was already at my desk, or trying to be. 3 monitors pulled up, 2 legal pads covered in messy notes, and a face that looked like she hadn't slept. Walt, she said, voice tight. Do you have a second? Something's wrong with the Port Arthur readings. I looked over her shoulder, spreadsheets, pressure reports, flow projections. A red cell blinking in the corner. That's the environmental compliance deadline for Beaumont, I said, not Port Arthur. Wait, what? She clicked through tabs, but the contractor said that was due Friday. You missed it. Her face went white. How much is the penalty? $75,000. Plus it kicks the project back 3 weeks for resubmission. Christ. She dragged both hands through her hair. Can we fix it? I pulled up a chair, spent the next 40 minutes walking her through the resubmission process, found the original compliance application, corrected her environmental specs, called the state office to beg for an extension. By the time I finished, it was almost noon. My phone had 4 missed calls, all from field supervisors. Roberto Silva from the refinery. Walt, I just got an email from Stephanie. She wants to change our maintenance schedule. What the hell is going on? James Palmer from Environmental. We need someone who knows what they're doing. No offense to your replacement, but we're not teaching her on a 40 million operation. Field supervisor from the offshore platform, Stephanie called asking about pressure valve protocols. She doesn't even know what a relief valve is. I called them back one by one, kept my voice calm, professional. I'm finishing out this week and next. After that, you'll need to work directly with Stephanie and the project managers. Every single one of them went quiet, then variations of the same response. So you're really leaving? By 3 p.m., Patricia's assistant showed up at my desk. She wants to see you. I knew what was coming. Took my time walking down the hall. Patricia's office door was open, but she closed it hard the second I stepped inside. Stephanie sat in one of the chairs, hunched forward, hands together. Patricia stood by the window, arms crossed. Didn't offer me a seat. I've been getting calls, she said, voice sharp. Field supervisors saying they're confused about you leaving. I'm not telling them anything they don't already know. She turned, you're poisoning the pipeline. Taking my clients, your field supervisors are calling me because they're worried. They've worked with me for 7 years. You handed them to Stephanie with no transition and expected blind loyalty. This is theft, Walt. I raised an eyebrow. There's no non-compete in my contract. No NDA. Everything I've discussed with supervisors is about their projects. Nothing secret. Stephanie cleared her throat. Patricia snapped, stay out of it. I stayed standing. I've made no promises to anyone, haven't tried to steal a single contract. But if field supervisors decide they can't work with the new management after I'm gone, that's on you. Patricia leaned both hands on her desk. You think you're irreplaceable? No, I think I'm trusted. That's different. Silence hung between us like crude oil vapor. Finally, I looked at Stephanie. You need to learn the compliance pipeline inside and out. Not just deadlines, but why they matter, and stop counting on field supervisors to cover your mistakes. They expect you to know this already. Stephanie nodded, barely looking up. I walked out without waiting for a response. Outside, the afternoon sun hit the parking lot like a blast furnace. I stood there for a minute watching a tanker truck rumble past, thinking about what came next. My phone buzzed, email notification. Calvin Torres, Chevron, Walt, got your resume. Let's talk tomorrow. 2 p.m. I hit reply, I'll be there. Chevron's Houston office sat on the 20th floor of a glass building downtown. The kind of place where the elevators didn't rattle and the coffee didn't taste like it came from a machine that hadn't been cleaned since 2015. Calvin Torres was waiting when I stepped off. Gray suit, work boots that had actually seen a refinery. And that no-nonsense energy some guys never lose no matter how many zeros end up in their bank account. Walt, he said, shaking my hand like we were sealing something. Took you long enough. I'd met Calvin twice before at industry conferences, once in Dallas, once in New Orleans. Both times we'd ended up at the hotel bar talking about the sorry state of operations management and how many firms were run by people who'd never touched a pressure gauge. Had to finish a few things first, I said. He led me into a corner office, windows on two sides, whiteboard covered with refinery maps, the smell of fresh coffee that actually smelled like coffee. I won't waste your time, Calvin said, sitting on the edge of his desk. We've wanted you here for over a year. You've got the network, the experience, and more importantly, people trust you. He slid a folder across the desk. I opened it. Position: Vice President of Operations salary, 165,000 plus performance incentives and equity stake after year 1 start date. 3 weeks I stared at the number. It was 72,000 more than Coastal had ever paid me. 43% increase for doing the same work I'd been doing just without the family politics. This isn't charity, Calvin said. You bring value, regulatory connections we don't have, field supervisors who will pick up when you call, environmental compliance expertise that money can't buy. We're not just hiring you, we're hiring 20 years of reputation. I looked up at him. What's the catch? No catch, but I need to know you're serious. Coastal's going to try to keep you. Patricia's not stupid. She knows what she's losing. Already resigned. 2 weeks notice already submitted. Calvin smiled. Then we've got 3 projects waiting: refinery expansion in Galveston, pipeline upgrade in East Texas, offshore platform in the Gulf. I want you leading the Texas operations by next month. I thought about Allison. Law school applications were due in 6 months. 45,000 a year. 3 years. I'd been trying to figure out how to make that math work on Coastal's salary. This made it possible. I'm in, I said. We shook on it. Calvin walked me back toward the elevator, and as we passed a glass-walled conference room, I spotted something on their project board, a refinery map I recognized. The Beaumont expansion that I'd pitched to Patricia 8 months ago. She'd passed on it, said the environmental compliance was too complicated. Calvin caught me looking. Yeah, we picked that up after Coastal dropped it. Environmental clearance came through last month, breaking ground in 6 weeks. Of course they did. As the elevator doors opened, Calvin said, "Don't be surprised when your old field supervisors start calling. Word travels fast in this industry." I nodded, didn't smile, just stepped into the elevator and watched the doors close. On the drive back, my phone rang. "Allison, hey Dad, you free for lunch?" I checked the time, 3:30. Already past lunch, but yeah. "Where are you, campus? But I can meet you somewhere." 20 minutes later, we were sitting in a diner off University, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and a waitress who called everyone honey. Allison ordered a burger. I got coffee I didn't need. So she said, dumping ketchup on her fries, "You gonna tell me what's going on, or do I have to guess?" I'd forgotten how much she looked like Rita when she was being serious. Same expression, eyebrows drawn together, mouth set in that line that meant she wasn't accepting any BS answers. "I quit my job," I said. She stopped mid-fry. "What?" "Put in my notice yesterday. Last day's next Friday. Jesus, Dad." Why, I told her, not all of it, but enough. The promotion that went to someone else. 7 years meaning nothing. The decision to walk away instead of staying bitter. Allison listened without interrupting, which meant she was processing, thinking it through like she did with her law cases. Finally, she said, "What about money?" "My tuition, got a new job, better pay, starts in 3 weeks. Her shoulders dropped, relief all over her face. "Okay, that's good. That's really good." She ate a fry, then looked up. "You should have told me sooner. I thought something was seriously wrong. Didn't want you to worry. I'm 20, not 10. I can handle it." She paused. "Mom would have told you to leave years ago." That hit me because she was right. Rita had always been better at knowing when to walk away from things that weren't working. Jobs, friendships, her own father when he wouldn't stop drinking. She had a sense for when loyalty turned into stupidity. "Yeah," I said. She would have. We finished eating. Allison insisted on paying, which made me feel both proud and old. As we walked to our cars, she said, "I'm proud of you for what it's worth." I nodded, didn't trust myself to say anything back. The next week was weird. I showed up at Coastal every day, finished out my projects, answered Stephanie's endless questions. She'd come to my desk 3-4 times a day with problems that shouldn't have been problems. The Galveston contractor is asking about pressure specs. Check the engineering drawings, page 14. The EPA inspector wants updated environmental protocols. They're in the shared drive folder marked compliance. The field supervisor called about equipment conflicts. Call him back. That's your job now. By Thursday, the office felt different. People were quieter around me. A few came by to say they were sorry I was leaving. One of the senior engineers, a guy named Phil who'd been there longer than me, pulled me aside. "You're making the right call," he said, voice low. "This place is going downhill fast. Friday afternoon, my last day. Patricia didn't come out of her office. No goodbye, no handshake, nothing. Just a form email from HR thanking me for my service. Stephanie stopped by my desk around 400. "I know this is weird," she said, "but thank you for training me, for not making it harder than it had to be." I looked at her. She seemed genuine, which somehow made it worse. "You've got the title now," I said, "but you don't have the respect yet. That takes time, years, not months. You earn it by showing up when things go wrong, by knowing more than everyone else in the room, by proving you give a damn about the people doing the actual work." She nodded. "I'll try. Trying isn't enough. You either do it or you don't." I packed my desk into a cardboard box. 20 years of operations management fit into one box. Safety manuals, a coffee mug Allison gave me for Father's Day, a photo of Rita from before she got sick. I walked out at 5 p.m. exactly. Didn't look back. 3 weeks later, I started at Chevron. The office was bigger, the team sharper, the expectations higher. Calvin didn't believe in hand-holding. He gave me 3 projects and said, "Don't screw them up." I didn't. 8 months later, I had 4 major projects running. Galveston refinery expansion, ahead of schedule and under budget. East Texas pipeline passing every inspection on the first try. Gulf platform operations, so smooth the field supervisors were asking for permanent transfers. Chevron didn't micromanage. Calvin cleared the runway and let me fly. When I said we needed to hire 2 more compliance officers, he approved it. When I pushed back on a contractor trying to use cheap materials, he backed me up. It felt like working at full capacity for the first time in years. Field supervisors picked up when I called. Environmental inspectors knew my name. Regulatory officials trusted my word. I wasn't fighting for respect anymore. I had it. I was reviewing pressure charts for a 5th project when Calvin walked in holding a rolled-up newspaper. "Thought you'd want to see this," he said, dropping it on my desk. Houston Business Journal. Every major firm in the region rate it. The headline made me stop breathing for a second. Coastal Petroleum faces federal probe after environmental disaster. Below it, a photo of Stephanie at a press conference, sweat on her collar, eyes wide, mouth half open, like she'd been caught mid-excuse. Behind her, Patricia looked 10 years older than I remembered. I didn't want to read it, but I did. The article laid it out plain. Major pipeline leak at the Beaumont facility, crude oil spill into the Neches River, multiple EPA violations. The investigation found Stephanie had signed off on the pipeline inspection without actually checking the pressure ratings. Same thing I'd caught her doing 8 months ago, except this time I wasn't there to fix it. The leak lasted 6 hours before they could shut it down. Environmental cleanup, $15 million. Federal fines, $8 million. Criminal negligence charges pending. The board had forced Patricia out. Stephanie resigned the day after the spill. The firm was bleeding clients, bleeding money, circling the drain. I read it twice, then set the newspaper down. Calvin sat across from me, arms folded. "They said you were just operational, a field guy. They did. Turns out you were the foundation." I nodded once. Didn't feel like celebrating. Someone's river had gotten polluted because Stephanie didn't know what she was doing, and Patricia was too proud to admit she'd made a mistake. The next day, my phone started buzzing. 4 messages before lunch. Phil, the senior engineer from Coastal. "Walt, are you hiring? This place is done." 2 field supervisors I'd worked with for years. "Heard you're at Chevron now. We'd like to talk about moving our contracts." A regulatory official from the state environmental office. "We're pulling out of Coastal. Can Chevron handle compliance oversight?" I forwarded them all to Calvin. He grinned when he saw the list. "You didn't burn the bridge," he said. "You just made everyone realize which side was stable." By the end of the month, we'd hired 3 coastal refugees, good people who saw the writing on the wall. 4 major contracts followed me over, bringing $85 million in business with them. I didn't gloat, didn't call Patricia, or send a nasty email, just kept working. Allison called one evening while I was finishing up paperwork. "Dad, you see the news about Coastal?" "Yeah, saw it. That's crazy." That could have been you dealing with that mess. It was me dealing with those messes for 7 years. That's why I left. Pause, then "I'm really glad you did." She hesitated. "Hey, I got my LSAT scores back. 168? I had no idea if that was good, but her voice told me it was." "That's great. Really great. Yeah, should be enough for most programs." She paused. "I know law school's expensive, but with your new job, we can make it work, right? We'll make it work. Don't worry about that. Just focus on your applications." After we hung up, I sat there for a while thinking about Rita, about how she'd always said the hardest part of being a parent was knowing when to hold on and when to let go, when to sacrifice and when to walk away. I'd held on to Coastal for 7 years, thinking it was the responsible thing to do. Turned out walking away was the better choice all along. Look, I'm not telling you this story to complain or get sympathy. I'm telling you because maybe you're sitting in your own office right now, Watching some young hotshot get handed what you've been working toward for years. Maybe you're thinking loyalty matters, that hard work gets rewarded, that if you just keep your head down long enough, they'll recognize your value. I believed all that too. But here's what I learned. Loyalty is a two-way street, and some bridges aren't worth saving. Your skills, your reputation, your network that follows you wherever you go, companies don't. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your family, for your future, for your own self-respect, is walk away from people who don't value what you bring to the table. Trust me, there's always someone out there who will.
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding. Slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile. Every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay. Some days feel off, like I'm standing but still falling. A little pain, a little tired, and no one to tell it all to. There are days that feel unsteady, like I'm drifting out of place. Every step just feels so heavy, with a smile I have to fake. A little hurt I keep inside me, a little weight I always hide, and 1,000 quiet worries I've been holding deep inside. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. I keep walking through the silence like it's all I've ever known. Every crowded room reminds me how it feels to be alone. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. Maybe one day I'll be stronger, maybe I'll learn how to speak, but for now I keep it buried in the parts of me too weak. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you.